Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a match preview segment. We are looking ahead to Everton versus Aston Villa on Saturday. Everton, this will be our first game post Rafa Benitez, of course. Rafa Benitez has been sacked. Duncan Ferguson has been placed in caretaker charge, as he was the last time we sacked the manager, just over 2 years ago. Duncan will take charge for the game against Aston Villa, and we'll be hoping to get back to winning ways as quickly as possible. I think we'd all be hoping for a win under Ferguson at Goodison. We've got to wait and see how it pans out. Not going to be an easy game by any means, but I'm joined by Connor, and we're going to look ahead to a game, hopefully a little bit more optimism than we have been doing for the past couple of months. How are you feeling going into this one, Connor?
A lot more relieved. Quite mildly confident as well. I'd say. I think he's due the new manager bounce that most managers get anyway. But the fact that it's Duncan Ferguson, I think he can time the atmosphere as well. It'll give that bounce an even bigger rebound.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of them. I think the fans will be up for it. He'll obviously be up for it. And the important thing, I think, is if he can motivate the players, because I think the players have let us down, regardless of how badly Benitez has performed as manager. The players in their roles have underperformed as well. And I think one thing it's safe to say we've seen is a real lack of commitment to the cause, I think, at times this season from the team as a unit, to be honest. And we need to see much more of that. I think Duncan Ferguson can get that out of them. And I think with that level of commitment that we expect at Goodison, with a good atmosphere, I think that might be enough to get us the result. Hopefully, I mean, Villa are a good side. It's not going to be easy, but hopefully we've just got enough to get over the line and get a much needed 3 points. I think that's at the end of the day, it's by hook or by crook. We've got to get the results here.
Yeah, and it helps with the occasion as well. Obviously, Steven Gerrard being their manager as well just adds to the occasion, adds to the intensity of the game, and obviously. I think you're right. I think a couple of the players, I think they down their tools slightly at Norwich. Now, whether you want to be a theorist and say that they did that to get him sacked or not, they have been down in their tools, not just for Norwich, but the last couple of games. But Norwich, I thought it was pretty obvious that they just weren't in the fight. But it looks to already change. Obviously, there's clips going around of the last time Dunk was in charge, saying how important it was to play for the club. And as of just before joining review, Everton put a preview of the interview with Duncan Ferguson that are going to put out tomorrow. And he was saying the first thing he wants to get the players through is just, that they're lucky to play for the club. I can't remember the exact quote he was saying, but it was the same sort of stuff you'd expect Duncan Ferguson to say. It was sort of wants to play with intensity, but he said he wants them to work hard. I think it was all that. He said hard working.
In his own words, I think I've watched the same clip I think you've just watched myself before we recorded this. And I think in his own words, he said, if you told an Everton fan to put a shirt on, what would they do? He said, I think that's an excellent way of wording it. Like, we just want the players to show the level of passion that we as fans would if we were given the opportunity that they've been given.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And obviously the last time he was in charge 2 years ago, he was sort of trying to install the same sort of belief of, I think the quote back then was, God, isn't this a great job? Do you know how lucky you are type thing? I think he wants the players to realise how much of an honour it is to play for Everton Football Club. It's not just picking up a wage, going home, rinse, repeat. He wants them to, realise just how much of a privilege it is to play for Everton Football Club and be a professional footballer at the top flight. So I'm hoping that will, and I believe, I have the feeling that the players have a lot of respect for him as well, which will help massively. If it was Rafa Benitez saying it, apparently the players didn't like him. The mood automatically lifted as soon as he was gone. But if it's Duncan Ferguson saying it, I feel like it carries a lot more weight, especially because he's played for the club himself as well. It's not Rafa Benitez of former Liverpool links.
Yeah, I don't think the Liverpool links were the big issue for me with Benitez. I think it was obvious that he was demoralised in the dressing room, and I think it was said a lot of people said that the rumours that the players were disillusioned about the fact Dean was sold, which is understandable. I think very understandable. He was quite well respected in the dressing room, I think, Luca Dean, so they're all a bit bewildered about that. I think to see, I think Benitez being sacked, like you say, I think will lift the club in general, and I think that's what Duncan Ferguson's biggest task is to galvanise the players who are obviously quite, I think, depressed, to be honest. I think I'd be quite depressed if I was in that dressing room being managed by Rafa Benitez. So I think to sort of lift the whole mood around the club is imperative. I think sacking of Benitez in itself might do that, but I think we really need whoever takes charge now, Duncan Ferguson it will be, and then long term, of course, as well, to really slowly lift the mood around the club. And I think a big thing, and I think I've noticed it myself on social media since the sacking, that the club channels, the social medias, accounts, Duncan Ferguson as well in that interview, I think it's all about trying to reconnect with supporters. I think that's what we've spoken so regularly, me and you, I think, in the early stages of this season, saying how disconnected we feel from our club. And I think it's about sort of winning back hearts and minds.
Yeah, and I'm all for the the pictures of Baines as well. It's the fact that the club legends as well. They know what will work. Obviously, that needs to transpire onto the pitch, and that's not just Ferguson. That's got to be the 11 players that he picks. They've got to really put their shift in. But it does feel it feels a lot better. I think the sacking of him makes boosts the mood. The fact it's Duncan Ferguson taking the game boosts the mood even more. What we do long term is still completely undecided. But for right now, I'd say just enjoy the wave. And I think the club, I don't know if the person who made the Benitez decision in Farhad Bashiri fully understands the disconnect, but it to me looks like the club, the social media runners, they realise the disconnect and are taking note of fans. Whether the top dog is, but the way they're putting it out would make me feel like they know that there's been a disconnect and they're all, Operation Reconnect now.
And so they should. I think that's imperative. I mean, obviously Duncan Ferguson and, like you say, Leighton Baines, like ex-players who understand the fan base a bit more will grasp that anyway. But I think the social media accounts do realise that they have the power to sort of get the right messages out there, plant some seeds of positivity in the minds of the supporters going into Saturday's game. And obviously with the fact that it's Duncan Ferguson as opposed to Rafa Benitez in itself will lift fans anyway. But the right kind of communication is key. We don't always get enough of that at Everton. So even just a slight bit of positive sort of reinforcement for us as supporters will certainly put us in a good frame of mind and hopefully lead to a good atmosphere on Saturday.
Yeah, I can imagine it's going to be bouncing. I think it's going to be a really great atmosphere. I think fans are going to be up for it. I think Duncan Ferguson's going to be up for it. I think his staff are going to be up for it. I just pray the players share that same enthusiasm and that same attitude. I'm sure they will, but you can never guarantee that. But I'm sure they will. And then just that alone, that bounce, the motivation they'll get from that, the players, that will do wonders for them, having that sort of mental bounce.
I think absolutely. I think for the club as well, I don't think we need to reiterate. Obviously, we've spoken a lot about Ferguson and the managerial change, but obviously going into this game, there's also the small matter of the fact that we need to pick up points. To be honest, we're in a real mess now. I think Leeds have pulled away from us as well. I think we need to. We're very much 16th, which is nowhere near good enough. Even my worst predictions for this, I predicted we finish 14th very pessimistically. And to say that we're even lower than that just tells you how much of a disaster this season's been. This needs to be sorted out and now. So, it's imperative we get a good result weekend. The point situation doesn't bear thinking about at the moment, and the fixtures aren't the easiest in the running either, so we need to start picking points up.
No, I agree, mate. I remember, I think it was with me and you, and I said I wasn't worried about relegation because I think we've got too much quality. And then once we lost to Norwich, I was like, if you're losing to Norwich, I'm starting to get a little bit worried.
I think I was me who said that to you, wasn't it? I said, if you lose to Norwich, you deserve to get relegated.
I think it was. I think it was the Norwich preview we did, and I was like, no, we've got too much good quality. And then after that, I was like, no, we are in trouble because we're losing to the worst team in the league.
I predicted a 2-2 draw for that, and again, that was me being very pessimistic. And he outdone that.
It was mad. When I saw the score, I was just like, I can't believe it. And it shows how devastating it is because Richarlison's goal in that game was unreal, and it was just dead for it. It was, fans were just...
Half of them had probably gone home by that stage.
Exactly. It was just I mean, and Norwich as well. Like it's awful. It was awful, the game, but hopefully bounce back.
Yeah, and with that in mind, obviously a new manager, new training methods, different ideas. What do you think will be different tactically? I think, what do you think our team is going to be? Predictions in terms of the starting 11.
I think just because of it's going to be hard to predict. I only predict this because I think it was what he played last time. I think he's going to go 4-4-2. In all honesty, and have Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up top together. Also, we don't really have a natural number 10, so to play in any formation with a number 10 would be silly. I think I don't think he's going to play the 4-3-3 that we've been crying out for all season. I think he's going to stick to the 4-4-2 and just, from the looks of the training, he's really hammering what you'd expect him to: intensity, run the players into the ground, type of mentality. So I think he's going to do that and just hope that the players run themselves absolutely ragged to get the 3 points.
Yeah, well, that's what's needed. And to be honest, the players should be doing that on the regular basis, to be honest. And, they should be ashamed of themselves for not doing that. I mean, I know the mood has been low, but this isn't just under Rafa Benitez I'm talking about here. This has been in the past where players have, why aren't you at a fitness level where we saw Duncan Ferguson last time? A lot of players got injured after a couple of games of his methods because he weren't fit enough. And why aren't you fit enough is what I have to ask.
Yeah, I agree, mate. It's they get paid thousands of pounds to play football. The bare minimum you ask for them is to stay, to get their bodies up to a level of fitness.
Highest quality, you're in the highest quality league.
Exactly, it's the Premier League. It's not League One and or League Two. No offense to them, it's not Serie B or the lower leagues of like La Liga in Spain. It's the top. It's the top and most viewed league in the world.
I think that's what's got to be realised, is that you've got to have exceptional standards, and too often these players have let the standards drop. And I mean, I don't want to go full on like ripping into the players because we do need to be a bit more optimistic, and things might change. But yeah, we need to see the players buy into Duncan Ferguson's ideas and play for each other as well. I don't think there's been enough spirit in the team this season at all. I know that might reflect the manager. There certainly hasn't been enough of a togetherness or a spirit or a character about this team. There needs to be more unity and I think it might help, obviously Ferguson and his methods and what he'll want them to do, and also the fans, I think, will be right behind the team on Saturday. I think everything will hopefully be a decent platform for the team to really come together and be as one and work for one another, and hopefully between that and hopefully hard work, we've got just enough quality to overcome Villa at home.
Yeah, and I think the fans are going to be massive. Because the worse it got, like the last 4 months, the more the fans, it was turning a bit moody, a bit angsty. It was, fans were running on the pitch. Gordon had spoke to that fan. I swear that was like 3 weeks to a month ago now, though. Although that should have been, warning signs. But that fan that Gordon spoke to that ran on and stuff like that, and obviously the fan tried to run on at Norwich. I think they can pick up when the crowd's angsty and it's, a bit, we use the word toxic, but that toxic atmosphere of angst where
I can imagine it was just as toxic in the dressing room if the mood that a lot of reporters have said that the mood was quite low under Rafa Benitez. I can imagine it was almost as toxic there, especially after the whole Luca Dean debacle.
Yeah, which is it's bad for Benitez, and obviously the players were right to question it. But it's madness. It's not just Benitez. The players should share the same thought towards the people who green lighted the transfer only to sack the man 2 weeks later. Because I watched, Fabrizio Romano before coming on. He was on, I think it's Rio Ferdinand's podcast, just talking about the managerial stuff. And he said, obviously the window's still open. He said, and at Everton, you've got a bigger problem with the fact that they sold Digne because he didn't get on with Rafa. Rafa brought Mykolenko because he likes him. And now you're sort of left with, now they've sacked him. And it was stuff like that. And he was basically saying, we sacked Benitez after getting rid of Dean, signing Mykolenko. And it was a bit like, it's bizarre. It's bizarre whoever green lighted it as well, because obviously Benitez has a say, but I don't think he has. He's not the one saying off you go. I think someone else has to clear it above him. It's madness that we let him sell Dean to then sack him a week later.
The whole thing, like that's obviously a different story, and it is something that we will, as fans, have to try and tackle. But I think the big thing for me was to get Benitez out and get a bit of unity back in the fan base and get the fans behind the team and behind whoever's in the dugout again. And, I don't doubt that'll be the case on Saturday. And with that in mind, like the team should know what this means. Obviously, like I say, Villa on an easy side. We'll talk a bit about Villa here because, like, they have got quality. There's no doubt. Like, there's plenty of ex-Reds, and as you mentioned, there's an ex-Blue there as well. Like Goodison's playing his second game for Villa. Coutinho, an ex-Red who nearly was a joint Benitez over here as well, and Danny Ings, good striker, likes a goal against us. There's not it's a tough team. It's a team full of quality, much more quality than we've got, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and they've got that Leon Bailey who we were after all of last summer that we were chasing that we never ended up getting. Bundia from Norwich was highly rated as well. They've got a decent base of a team, Villa. They certainly look like they're ready to push. They've spent obviously some of the Grealish money, but they look like they're ready to push on for that best of the rest. Maybe you could get Europa Conference, maybe even the Europa League on a good season. They seem to be ready for that jump up now from mid-table to trying to break the top 6, top 8.
Yeah, I think it's really where we should be.
Yeah, and we started this process a lot earlier than Villa did. If we supposedly were trying to do this 5 years ago, and they've sort of in the last 2 seasons potentially jumped ahead of us.
I think those things, obviously, we've got to I think there's got to be a lot more forward thinking from the club moving forward, and it's a good opportunity. I think whether you like it or not, what's happened here with Dean going, Benitez going, Bands going, a lot of Benitez's staff going. I think there's a whole opportunity to push the reset button completely. But before we do any of that, we've got to stay up.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And it'd be awful to go down. It would push progress back years. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin aren't going to hang around in the Championship. A couple more, I think, would probably go as well. It would really damage us to go down.
I mean, regardless of whether we stay up or go down, it's a case of whatever happens, the reset button needs pressing. It'd be easier to do it here, but even if we did go down off the bid, it still needs to be reset.
I agree. It needs to be the whole back row. This isn't just like a reset of like the 11, the players, or it needs to be a whole reset of structurally clean out. I think the word was streamline. The club said it needs to be streamlined, I guess, a little bit, but it needs to be filled with quality. You can't just streamline it and then fill it with ex-club legends or anything like that. It needs to be streamlined with quality people who know what they're doing and how to run a football club.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously, with that in mind, that's for another day. I think looking ahead to that'll be probably a job regardless of where we end up. That'll be a job for the summer, and obviously some building blocks should be put in place beforehand. But we need to focus now, I think, on the task at hand, which is picking up points in every game we play now.
Yeah, and this was supposedly meant to be, I'm not going to say easier, but this, we were told it gets easier after, the second half when the players are fit. The players are fit now. I'm not too sure who we have after Villa. I'm pretty sure the fixtures are easier than, the last 8 that we've had, the last month or so's fixtures where we're playing pretty much, some bigger sides. But it needs to improve anyway. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It needs to improve massively, and we need to get points on the board quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, like I say, Villa's side's got a lot of quality, but I think coming to Goodison, the idea is going to have to be to outdo them in terms of work rate. And I think that's what you've mentioned from the training clips and stuff. But Duncan Ferguson has definitely been hammering that into the players, and I think the players, like we say, really need to buy into that and follow it, follow the methods, get behind them. And I think if they do, the fans will get behind the players very quickly.
Yeah, 100%. I think the fact that it's at Goodison's a massive, massive plus. I think the atmosphere is going to be really, really good, and I think that just helps everybody out. And I'm sort of hoping that even when they do start getting a bit tired, because like you said, there were reports last time that he was running them into the ground, so to speak. I hope that when they, the legs do start to tire, because they probably will run more in this and put more into this match than they have in the last couple of games or couple of months, maybe even all season, that when they are starting to feel it a bit, the atmosphere will give them that, extra kick, that extra bit of motivation when the legs are starting to feel a little bit heavy, and just to help them push it all the way on.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's imperative though that the players deliver what Duncan Ferguson wants them to. And I think we as fans, obviously, we have our part to play. I think we'll be right behind Duncan Ferguson and the players, if they give us the performance we know, like we saw they were capable of last time under Ferguson and under Ancelotti as well. Some of those performances, we need to see a bit more of that and a bit more sort of hard work, a bit more unity. Any of that, and the fans aren't idiots. We'll pick it up and we'll get behind it.
Yeah, 100%. And he's not a soft touch either. I know we're saying, because we've got our blue eyes and stuff, but for the players, he's not a soft touch. He might know them, and he might, they might have profound respect for him. But the Moise Keane incident at Old Trafford, subbed him on, didn't do what he asked, subbed him straight off. I don't think Ferguson's a soft touch by any means. If you're not doing the job that he's asked you to do, I think he will pull them up about it and say you're not doing the job, and if needs be, we'll sub them off. I don't think he's one of those to let go, come on lads, it's all right. He'll sort it out straight away.
That's what we need. The going's getting tough now.
Yeah, it's getting dire straits. They need to improve before we end up in a place that's hard to come back from.
Yeah, I think, like we say, the players have got a lot to prove now. I think obviously they've let fans down for large parts of the season. This is their opportunity now to sort of repay the fans. The fans deserve a good performance. Duncan Ferguson, deserves a good performance as well. It's over to these players, and I think we just need to see we need to see the quality. There is quality there, but they need to match it with the work rate and outdo the opposition with the work rate, and we'll get the results if we do that, I think.
Yeah, and a win would take us, I think it would take us on with Leeds, but it just take us a little bit further away from the drop, because we are the table's still quite close, which makes me not worry as much. But like I said, Norwich were a team you should be beating. If you lose to Norwich, you are in trouble, and we're getting a little bit too close to there. But the intensity, I think if we match it, we can. I mean, it's not pretty, but I think we could kick them off the park as well, Villa. I think we could bring a physicality that they're not going to be quite used to. A lot of the players in Villa's side are very good technically. We mentioned Danny Ings, Leon Bailey, Coutinho, all good players, but they're all quite technical. I don't see many players there that could handle a bit of rough and tough.
Yeah, there's a John McGinn who's a bit of a tough tackler, but other than that, it's not a notoriously like you say, it's not like they're not like battering ram sort of team, are they?
No, they're not. Like, there's a couple of them I wouldn't say are tough. John McGinn's a fantastic player.
I love him.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic to watch.
Yeah, I think. But I think that there are some like good energetic midfielders. We need to match that, especially if we go with the 4-4-2, because we might have a midfield deficit there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he'll ask Decore to push forward again. I just hope he can get back in time. I mean, I might be wrong. It's just the fact that he stuck into the 4-4-2 last time he was in charge. But that's the whole mystery, isn't it, of Duncan Ferguson, which goes in and can go in his criticisms at points. he's still, very young into his managerial career, if you can call it that. So we don't really know what to expect from him, because this is the first time he's going to be, the front man, sort of thing, which is the only criticism that's called when people say give it him permanently, is we don't know much about him as a manager. We know about him as a player and a personality and a little bit as a coach, but we don't, we've got 4 games I think he did last time. We've got 4 games of his managerial career. So we don't know fully what to expect.
No, but I think what I will say is I was happy enough with what he tried to do the last time, and I'm very much willing to get behind it. I'm much more behind it than what we've witnessed recently. You know what I mean? It's chalk and cheese to that.
And if you can get like Doucouré's already an incredibly fit athlete, maybe I think he's dropped off the last month or so, but I'm going to put that on morale. But we were taught, we've spoken about him a couple of times, and the fact that he just runs and runs. Imagine him in a Ferguson style, intense game. He's going to be running for days, and I think he's got the fitness too. I think that just the last couple of times we've seen him drop off a little bit, I think is down to morale of the club and the morale surrounding the club.
Yeah, and I think, like I say, I expect to see an improved performance all around, and hopefully, like all the key players, like you mentioned, will put on a good show. With that in mind, like obviously we'll finish up in a minute, but we're gonna. What do you think your starting 11 would be?
I'm going to assume he goes for the 4-4-2, so I'm going to go Pickford. I think he's going to play Coleman. I think he might. I hope he does Godfrey. I think he's going to go Godfrey and Keane, isn't he? I think Mina might still be out. Left back, he's going to have to go with Mykolenko. I think he's just sort of forced in that aspect. The wings, Damari Gray on the left. I think he'll still play him there. Maybe Andros Townsend might get a game just because he's a bit more, bit of a hard worker. And then I think he's going to go Alan Doucouré in the middle, and he's going to stick Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up top together.
Is Alan back from COVID or whatever he was out with?
Oh, I'm assuming so, but if not, that puts him in a spot where he might have to put Delph or Shabam in, maybe.
It'd have to be one of them. I don't think Gomez is going to work in a 4-4-2.
No, and I don't think Gomez has got the legs for that type of intensity in a two-man midfield. So he'd have to pick one of those two to hold as a pivot. Out the two of them, it's slim pickings, but I'd have to pick, I don't know, maybe Delph.
I'd go with Delph. I think Gbamin's just Delph's very dull, but I think he's just a little bit more reliable than Gbamin. I think Gbamin's so hit and miss when I've seen him.
His legs would fall off. I think his legs would fall off doing that much running. You know what I mean? We're still trying to ease him back into full. He's never been fully fit for Everton, but we're trying to ease him back.
Delph, though, to be fair.
No, that's the other problem. Fabian Delph's fitness rate at Everton's awful. A good 90 minutes of running will probably see him off for the next month as well. But I think up top he'll keep the same two in Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. I don't think I don't think we'll see Rondon under him. I don't think Rondon's his type of player.
I mean, he's his type of player in terms of style, but I just don't think he's got the quality to, like, he's that sort of battering ram forward, or he's supposed to be, but he's just hasn't cut the mustard.
No, I don't think he runs enough for what Ferguson would like.
We need the grafters, I think, and he's not proved himself to be one of those. But certainly, I think the personality are pretty accurate with that in terms of what I think it'll be is something similar. Maybe Gordon instead of Townsend.
Gordon is a good shout.
Possibly, there's rumours about Mykolenko maybe not playing. Maybe Godfrey at left back and possibly Keane and Mina, or maybe even Holgate. Like, I know he picked Holgate for the games he played, for the games he managed the last time. I know we didn't have as many options then, maybe, but I'm pretty sure it was Keane and Holgate centre half back then as well.
Yeah, I did. Mykolenko wasn't on the training video, so people are rumouring he might have COVID or something like that. I saw someone say before, but that's just hearsay on Twitter. They know about as much as the mailman does.
Yeah, I think we're there or thereabouts with the team. It'll obviously all eyes will be on that starting 11 on Saturday. It's 12 kickoff as well, which is a really interesting one. Obviously, that'll be on 11:30 team news. So yeah, we'll have to wait and
buzzing for that.
Have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, but I think hopefully that team, like I say, might be enough to deliver the goods. And finally, of course, with that in mind, we'll finish up with the predictions. What are you going with, Connor? Prediction for this game?
Gonna go with 2-1 to us. Clean sheets are something I just can't associate with us at the minute, but I think we'll get a win.
Yeah, I was gonna go with. I'm gonna be a little bit optimistic for one. I'm gonna say 2-0. I think we might make it really ugly and hopefully not concede. You never know. He might actually have been doing the unthinkable and training them to mark men from set pieces. And you never know.
So.
You never know. It's a bit like left field, but you never know. If he does, then I think we might keep a clean sheet. But no, I think 2-1's a very good prediction. I think if you hadn't said that, I'd probably said it anyway. So, but yeah, let's both go for 2-1. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But I've got a Coutinho outside the shot finesse goal going in as well in the back of my head. I think it's one of those. But then I just don't beat them 2-1.
Why have you done that, mate? Why have you said that?
Sorry, it's just a thought I can't get out my head.
God help us. Oh, well, fingers crossed, guys. Duncan Ferguson's first game in caretaker charge, second spell in caretaker charge coming up. Everton versus Aston Villa on Saturday. Let us know your predictions as well. Let us know your opinions going into this game. How we feeling? Hopefully feeling a lot better going into these next couple of games. Fingers crossed we can start getting some results. Let us know your predictions. Give us a comment. Give this video a like and subscribe for more content. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching on the Toffee Blues.